again, everybody. Welcome back to the Rant and Review Pro Wrestling. We got a lot to talk about this past weekend's activities. Lots of crazy stuff going on, a lot of news, some injury updates, and some other stuff coming out about the Forbidden Door that's going on in the pro wrestling world, and of course the Crown Jewel show from WWE over the weekend from Saudi Arabia. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys, of course, I want you to give a Superman punch to the like button. It helps the YouTube algorithm, and we all like to help the YouTube algorithm, don't we? If you do that, it lets other people actually know about this channel who are pro wrestling fans, and they can check it out and join in on the comment section and join in the chat in the discussion. So that being said, let's talk about some of the big news items that came out of this past weekend. Now, again, a bit of a disclaimer here. for personal reasons, I don't watch the Saudi Arabia shows. I have heard very little about the rest of the show, but the main thing I heard, well, outside of Adam Scherr's ridiculous tweets where now that he's back in WWE, he's now crapping on indie wrestlers and indie wrestling style again. Tongue in cheek, he's just joking, he's just kidding, right? So a lot of people apparently got really ticked at him about that. I use my mute button on Twitter, by the way. I love the mute button. It is one of the greatest inventions on social media, so that's that. But as far as the Crown Jewel show, from what I have heard and watching reviews and listening to other people talk about it, apparently Logan Paul performed extremely well in this main event match with Roman Reigns. At some point in time, I might check out the match. I've seen a couple clips on it on WWE's YouTube channel. It looks like they performed it really well. A lot of people are saying this is one of Roman's best title defenses of the year, which is interesting because Roman's actually had some decent title defenses in his reign. But there are a lot of people. High praise for Roman, high praise for Logan Paul. Jake Paul did make an appearance, so did the Usos. Of course, Sami Zayn, for reasons, could not be at the show, did not want to be at the show. I understand that. And yeah, that's the big story coming out of it. Well, one of the big stories coming out of it, that it was a much better match than I think anybody anticipated it being. At some point in time, maybe I'll check it out. But the other story that came out of it, though, was unfortunately for Logan Paul, he did get injured. He did do a spot where he was kind of pulled a Tyler Breeze, Austin Theory angle here, and he started taking a selfie of himself and started streaming on Instagram as he was doing a dive off the top rope through a table onto the floor and through Roman Reigns, which apparently he hurt himself on. Apparently it might be a torn ACL or MCL, but usually I've torn my ACL too, and usually when you tear your ACL, you can tell you've torn your ACL. So it might not be in that, but then again, he might just be injured, might be sprained, who knows. But that's the big news coming out of that. Other injury news, however, coming out of the weekend, I did cover the New Japan Pro Wrestling Battle Autumn 2022 show, which you definitely should check out that review. That's on the channel, so go click down on the link in the description box or in the little icon thing here on the top if you're on YouTube to check out my review of that. But there are some rumors, I haven't seen it confirmed yet, that Tetsuya Naito had an injury on the show after his match with Will Ospreay, and that Jeff Cobb had an injury also to his knee, which you saw after the match as Dash was trying to talk to him outside the ring. There was some miscommunication in that match with Jeff Cobb a couple times. Early on, you heard an "I'm sorry" from Dash when he was locking up with Jeff Cobb, and then apparently they messed up. I think they were going for a headlock and they may have bumped heads or something. But later on in the match, as I mentioned in my review, they were going for what FTR was going for, a Steiner top rope bulldog, and it looked awkward, and it looked like Cobb had hurt himself. And after the match, Cobb looked hurt. So no official word on that yet that I've seen. Again, at the time of this recording, by the time this comes out, it might be different. But Cobb may be injured. So that's the injury updates from this past weekend in the world of pro wrestling and sports entertainment. A lot of great action, but unfortunately, a lot of injuries as well. Of course, the ongoing saga with CM Punk continued. I'm not going to get too far into this. Punk, apparently people from Punk's camp are saying that the investigation was a farce. I don't know much to make about that. The big thing that I was actually interested in is the rumor that Punk might be done with wrestling. I guess to speculate on that a little bit, it would be disappointing for fans, especially big CM Punk fans. They waited for so long for him to come back and for it to end like this. I mean, if you really think about it, he was back for all of 5 months before some drama happened, because he came back in October of last year. October to November, December, January, February, March, and apparently this stuff started around March. So it was like 5 months he was back, and the honeymoon was over. And remember, the last time he had problems in the wrestling company, he was gone for 7.5 years. Some people suspect that he may be going to WWE, you know, big paycheck. If him and Hunter can work it out, that's a possibility, of course. You never say never in this business. There's always a possibility. Again, he's injured. He's still under contract 6 months down the road. When he's feeling better, maybe he wants to reconcile with AEW. You don't know. I think for Punk, depending on where his head is at, and again, I don't know where CM Punk's head is at, he may think about it like, look, you know, WWE kind of left that on a sour note. UFC career, that kind of ended on a sour note. Movie career ain't really gone anywhere. Comic book stuff hasn't really lit the world on fire. Came back to wrestling, that ended on a sour note. You know, there's always a possibility that this guy might want to just go back to WWE, at least just do a year and just end his career on a good note. That's definitely a possibility. He might also want to go back to AEW and be able to write the... Who knows? Given what we've seen from Punk over the years, what we know about Punk, where he just might say, screw it all, I'm done with wrestling for good. Some of the rumors are that some of his friends have said that he has said that he's done with wrestling for good. Again, we don't know if any of this stuff is true or not, so take it with a grain of salt. The last bit of news, of course, I had to talk about this. Tetsuya Shibata. I got to see him once again make a return to a wrestling arena at AEW's Dynamite show this past week. On Friday on Rampage, he was in a match for the All-Atlantic Championship against Orange Cassidy in AEW on Rampage with Mike Tyson on commentary. Mike Tyson, by the way, seems to have a fairly decent... I mean, we all know from back in the day, he has been a big wrestling fan most of his life. That's what got him into that WrestleMania 14 thing. He came in and they were like, yeah, Mike has been watching wrestling since Bruno Sammartino. Mike Tyson knows a lot about wrestling. He knows more about wrestling than most people on social media know about wrestling, to be honest. And, you know, he had a couple of insights into the match that were pretty good about strikes. He did tend to talk over Excalibur a little bit, which, you know, he was enthusiastic, which is a far better thing than what happened the last time he was on AEW TV, where they caught him on camera yawning during a match. But here it was a lot better. He was very enthusiastic, very energetic, seemed to know a little bit about Shibata's history, was a big fan of Orange Cassidy. The match itself was a good match. I noticed that Shibata did not take a lot of bumps until closer to the end of the match. He did take one bump on his head that had me terrified when I saw it. But from all accounts, Shibata is okay. The match went on well. I did have a commenter on one of my other videos say that they were surprised that Shibata lost to Orange Cassidy. From what I have heard around the rumor mill, Shibata has asked for 2 matches in AEW. One of them was against Orange Cassidy. The other one is against Bryan Danielson. And I also make this point that, you know, some people might not like Tony Khan's booking, but I can't really say that given the fact that I just said about Carl Anderson and New Japan putting a championship on Carl Anderson, who was not a contracted talent, and that kind of blew up in their face. Even though I think Tetsuya Shibata is a far more honorable man. This is just a fan's opinion, by the way. I don't know them personally. But he comes across to me as a more honorable man than Carl Anderson and wouldn't do something like that. But still, he is a non-contracted talent. Do you want to put your championship on a non-contracted talent? My hard and fast personal thoughts on that is that you don't want to do that. But again, the companies do what they want to do. But I think Tony Khan, I don't think some of us thought that Shibata was going to win the championship. I was just happy to see him wrestle a match again. Anytime Shibata gets in the ring is a miracle, by the way. Not just him. Bryan Danielson, Edge, Saraya, who apparently is coming back to the ring, Tomoaki Honma, Hiromu Takahashi. Over the last 6 years, we have seen all of those people have career-ending injuries, and now every single one of them has come back to the ring. It is a miracle, and a miracle, too, that none of them have been, had any catastrophic injuries since then. So I was pleased to see Shibata. I enjoyed the match with Orange Cassidy. A couple minor mistakes here and there, but Orange getting the win is fine. And we'll have to wait and see if this Danielson-Shibata match happens. I think for Shibata fans, though, given what we've heard from Bryan Danielson, he probably would want to do the job for Shibata and send Shibata out on a high note with a win. I would love to see that match, though. It's not going to be, but again, keep in mind, Shibata, they're going to be kid gloves with him to some extent. We're not going to get him and Danielson just clobbering the crap out of each other as they would have if this match happened 7 years ago. So I'm still looking forward to the match. Hopefully it happens sometime within the next 6 months, and or maybe at Wrestle Kingdom, since Zack Sabre Jr. right now, who a lot of us suspected if Danielson was going to be at Wrestle Kingdom, it would be kind of making up for that Forbidden Door match where Zack Sabre Jr. didn't get to face Danielson because Danielson got injured. It's not going to happen at Wrestle Kingdom now because Zack Sabre Jr. is in the finals of New Japan Pro Wrestling's NJPW World TV title tournament against Ren Narita. So maybe it will be Shibata against Danielson at Wrestle Kingdom. Who knows? We've got a couple months to go. Again, we're getting near the point where we're going to start finding out very soon if any AEW talent is going to be at Wrestle Kingdom. I'm assuming FTR. I'm still assuming it's going to be FTR, Danielson, and Omega. So far, none of that is confirmed yet. FTR just having done their first match on Japanese soil for New Japan Pro Wrestling. So going to be an exciting couple months to see how Wrestle Kingdom shapes up this year. It could be a great thing, could not be. But that's my thoughts on all the big news from the major wrestling companies over the weekend. But I want to know what you guys think about some of these stories. What do you think about the rumors about CM Punk not wrestling ever again? What do you think's to the future for Shibata and AEW and in New Japan? Who do you think we'll see from AEW at Wrestle Kingdom, if anybody? And what did you think, for those of you who watched the Crown Jewel show, what did you think about Roman Reigns and his performance against Logan Paul at the Saudi Arabia show that everybody's been raving about all weekend? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys here for more news, rumors, and commentary here on the Rant and Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.